So here are my tips for facing the fears. So first, I want you to figure out what is driving your fears. So if you look at your list, do you see any common themes? Are there fears? Are they related to your own insecurities? Maybe this is a great opportunity to do some self-esteem and mindset building activities for yourself and with your kids. It's a struggle. I went through it with myself, and it's one of the reasons why I'm doing this workshop. It's one of the first courses that I'm actually offering students, and it's all about mindset. And how to mend your mindset. So facing your fears, figure out what's driving your fears, figure out if there's a common theme, and try to face those. Do what you can to work through those fears. My second tip for facing the fear is to surround yourself with people, programs, and groups that will support and encourage you. You are not meant to do this on your own, and you don't have to. There's so many people who've been doing this for years who really want to help support others on the journey. The irony is that the homeschool community is one of the most supportive yet divided groups out there. And what I mean by that is kind of think about like churches. So the goal of the traditional American church is to bring together people for fellowship and encouragement, support, and love. However, there are a ton of different types of churches and denominations out there because while the concept of the church is the same, the theology and the styles vary. And sometimes it varies by a lot. So the same thing happens in education. So you have to kind of find the place that fits your personal beliefs and style. But once you do, you're going to have access to a community that is never going to leave you alone to figure out this on your own. They're going to be an amazing community, just like churches are for the people that go to churches. When they find the right church, it's amazing for them. When they find that right community, and you can do that in the homeschool community. And that's part of what this workshop does, is help you figure out what those different types of styles and methods and theology and education is so that you can connect with the right kind of community, because once you find it, it's fantastic. All right, and my last tip is take time to figure out what style, methods, and systems you feel confident with. Okay, again, once you figure that out, you can find that community. And I know that it's super overwhelming, especially when you're first getting started, to try to figure everything out. Okay, it's totally normal. Pretty much anybody who gets into homeschooling or pulls their kids out of school goes through this overwhelm of, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. So most people, the problem that I see is that most people tend to stick with what they're familiar with. So they're familiar with public school. So they try to recreate public school at home. But the problem is we do that in life. We go back to things that are familiar when they're not working. And it's just because that's how we're kind of like created, I guess. But it's not always a good thing to go back to what we're familiar with. Think about some relationships that you might have gone back to because it was familiar, but it was not a good idea. Okay, same concept. Just because you know how the classroom works and you know how public school grades work doesn't mean you have to recreate that. So, in Module 4, I'm going to go over these a lot more. So you keep going through the workshop, but I'm going to help you understand a lot of these styles and methods and systems. But you can, kind of start doing a little bit of research, but there's all kinds of stuff. You've got virtual schools, you've got workbooks, you've got following state standards, or you can create your own standards that you want your kids to learn. You can be very authoritative, or it can be very religious, or very secular, or very free-spirited, which is very much how I am. So once you feel like you have a good understanding of all these various options and styles and methods of teaching, then again, you'll be able to connect with the right kind of group, and you will have a lot more confidence in what you're doing.